function machines. So function machines is the first step before moving on to solving equations algebraically. But before we go into function machines, we have to first understand the inverse of our mathematical operations. So if you just pause this video and copy out this table, and then we're going to go through it. So as we all know, our operations in maths are our add, our times, our divide, our take away, and so on. And now we have to identify what the inverses are so that we're able to use our function machine when we're having to do the opposite. So if we have add, our inverse of add is take away. If we have take away, our inverse of take away is add. Similarly, if we have multiply, the inverse of multiply is divide. Therefore, if we have divide, the opposite of that is multiply. Now, these might be new for some people. We've got square, so squaring a number. And then the inverse of squaring is square root. So therefore, when you square root a number, the opposite of that is going to be square. Now let's look at a function machine. So a function machine has an input, which is the value you put in, an operation, which is what you do to the input, and an output, the end value, so your equals. So let's have a look at some examples. Pause this video now and copy out this table. Okay, let's go through these examples. As I am going along, do write down any notes and copy out these examples one by one. So we have a function machine. It tells us that we have an input. Our operation is multiply by 8. Okay, so times by 8. And then we have our output. So have a look at this first question. Work out the output when the input is 5. So it tells us that we're putting in 5 and we're going to have to deal with our operation. So if we're inputting 5, we're going to have to do our operation, which is multiply by 8, which gives us an output of 40. If we're inputting 11, we do operation, multiply it by 8, giving us an output of 88. If we're inputting 7, we're doing operation of times 8, giving us our final output value of 56. If we're inputting 15, multiplying it by 8, which is our operation, we then get 120. Let's have a look at this example, the second example. So we're having an input. Our operation is divide by 6 to get our output. So if we put an input of 36, we deal with our operation, which is divide by 6, we'll get an output of 6. If we input 18, deal with our operation of divide by 6, we'll get a value of 3. How about if we do the opposite way around? So work out the input where the output is 60. Okay, so we're told what the output is, so we have to work backwards. This is where the inverse is very important. So we have to know what the inverse of divide by 6 is. So the inverse of divide by 6 is multiply by 6. So we're having to work backwards. So if our output is 60, we have to multiply by 6 to find our input, which would be 360. What about if we have an output of 90? We have to do the opposite again, because it's an output, we're working backwards, multiply it by 6, we'll get a value of 540. Pause this video and have a go at these questions. Okay, so let's have a look at these answers. So for 1A, we're adding on 25 to 40, we've got 39. B, an answer of 57. C, we're going backwards, so we're going to be taking away 25, giving us an answer of 63. And D, same thing, working backwards, giving us an answer of 31. Question 2A, we're multiplying by 3, so we'll get a value of 45 for A, 24 for B, and then we're working the other way around, so we're dividing by 3 because it's the opposite, so we'll get an answer of 33, and D, an answer of 17. Pause this video and have a go at these two other questions. So for question 3, we've got an answer of 3A would have been 88, 3B 132, 3C would be 6, 3D 20. Question 4, so here for question 4 we're squaring, so remember we did square, so we have to do the opposite, which is square root when it comes to question C and D. So for question 4A, 4 squared gives us an answer of 16. B, 10 squared gives us an answer of 100. Now do the opposite, so we're square rooting 64, giving us an answer of 8. And then question D, square root of 49, giving us an answer of 7. Now pause this video and have a go at these. What you're having to do with these is you're given four values. They all have the same operation, and obviously you're going to come out with four individual values for each one of these, and there are two parts to each of these questions. Okay, so question 5a, got an answer of 23 minus 5, 99, 61. 5b, 77, 63, 154, and 105. Question 6a, we're doing the opposite. So we're having to take away 22 from our values, giving us an answer of 5, minus 10, 12, and 55. And 6b, again, we're doing the opposite of divide by 5, which is multiply. So we get an answer of 95, 55, 41, and 75. Pause this video and have a go at these questions. You're having to find out what the missing operation is. Okay, so hopefully you'll understand that you only need to find one operation. So one operation that fits all of them. So for 7a, it's adding 20. B, it's multiplying by 5. C, it's square root. And D, it's divide by 3. Okay, now a function machine can contain multiple operations. So let's have a look at this one. Here is a function machine, and we have an input value. We then add 5 and then multiply by 3 to get our output. So if we have an input of 5, so we're inputting the value of 5, the first thing we have to do is add on 4, which gives us a value of 9. But then we have our second step, which is multiply by 3. So we multiply our previous answer by 3, which gives us an output of 27. So work out the output with the input 16. So the same thing, we do our first operation, which is add on 4, giving us a value of 20. We then have to multiply by our second operation, which is multiplied by 3, so 20 times by 3, giving us an output of 60. And we have our next example. So we have a function machine. We have an input, we're multiplying by 10 first, then subtracting 8. So work out the input when the output is 72. So this one, what we've done is they've told us the output, they've told us our final answer, so now we have to work in reverse. So what's the opposite of subtract 8? It's going to be add 8. And what's the opposite of multiply by 10? It's going to be divide by 10. So 72 add 8 gives an answer of 80. And then 80 divided by 10 gives us a value of 8. Another example, work out the input when the output is 35. So again, we're having to do the opposite. So 35 add 8 gives us a value of 43. 43 divided by 10 gives us an output of 4.3. Pause this video and have a go at these questions. Okay, so let's go through these answers. So question 8a was 66, 8b 156, 8c 40, 8d 15. Question 9a was 100, 9b 190, 9c 8, and 9d 26. So this is now using a function machine sequence. So fill in the blanks to complete each table for the following function machine. So our function machine has our first operation of times by 2 and then take away 4. So when you're given a sequence like this in a table, your input values are these at the top and your output values are the ones at the bottom. So it's almost like writing it in a different way, but it means the exact same thing. So for this first one, our input is 5. So 5 times by 2 gives us 10, take away 4 gives us 6, and we do the same thing. So input 11 times it by 2, take away 4, same thing for 7, we're inputting 7 times it by 2, take away 4, and the same for 25. Now when we get to these final 4 values, we're given the output, so we're given this one, so we have to do the opposite. So to do the opposite, we have to add 4 first, and then divide it by 2. So we get a value of 16, 80, 46, and 97. So pause this video and have a go at these questions. Okay, so let's go for the answers. So for question 10a, we had an output 15, 39, 23, and 95, and input values of 8, 40, 23, and 50. For B, we've got 18, 7, 10, 16, 94, 104, 190, and 80. C, 0, 17, 10, 50, 24, 2, 38.5 and 66. For D, -1, 15, 6, 56, 18, 92, 119, 45. E, 2, 2.5, 50, 42, 55, 84, 155 and 8.5. And F, 12, -2, 22, 54, 18, 44, 29 and 26.